Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon here in Dolmen, which is in Zhuhai, which is just across the border from Macau, which is just across the bridge from Hong Kong. And it's been a pretty good day, but it's been overcast now. And it's Sunday, 28th of September. So Sunday's lazy day. I don't know how many people will get here, but it's been interesting, eh? And some of the, just while we're waiting for people to turn up, some of the funny things that you find in the supermarket here. This is survival rations. These are exactly the same as the survival biscuits that you get in your life raft. These are Chinese versions. 3 different flavors. They've got a sesame, a garlic, and a meat one. So there's a meat flavor, a garlic flavor, and a sesame flavor. But that's for national defence stuff, it's disaster stuff. You buy it in the supermarket. They cost only less than $1, only 4.9. So there's like 50, half a euro, and you get 2 survival biscuits, and they're full of stuff. Exactly the same with Life Raft. I lived on them for 48 days in the bounty boat, sailing across the Pacific with nothing. Got 2 of those in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Anyway, that's another story. And the other funny one, before we get into it, because we've only got a few people there now, my nephew, or Jane's nephew here, we had Yum Chow this morning, and his partner has a job working in a pussy shop. It's a pussy shop. So in China, they have 70 cats, right, in a outside space, and you pay 40 RMB, which is about what's that, about $8 Australian. So not a lot, right? So not much for an hour, and you can come into this enclosure where there's 70 pussies, 70 cats, and cuddle them and play with them. They have toys with them and this, that, and the other, and it's amazing. So they have pussy shops in China. But anyway, and I suppose it's better because a lot of Chinese like having pets, but they live in apartments and things like that. I always feel a bit sorry when you see a dog in China that's living in an apartment, but you don't even have to own your cat. You can go and stay in the pussy shop and pay 40 RMB an hour. Anyway, I digress. We've got some people there now. I wonder what the hell's going on. And I'm going to talk at the end about the technicalities of entering a TREKKA replica into the MGR, because it's amazing. Since I put that little post up, there's 2 boats in New Zealand. They've got another boat possibly over in Europe, and they've got there's 2 trekkers in Australia. In fact, there's probably more than that in Australia. I'm not, just know of one that's up north, and then there's the one that John is looking at. There's a few discussions. So there's 3 that might be talking about MGR. So they all ask various questions. So just to satisfy your own curiosity, I'll explain why we allow replicas in, why they get a discount on the entry fees, and what they've got to do to be there, and the fun of having replicas in the 29 race. It'd be fantastic. So, having said all that, let's get straight into the tracker. You're on the tracker right now. And so now I'm going over to the tracker. Hopefully you can hear me and see me okay. All looking very conventional at the moment. The fleet's making pretty good time, heading towards Port Martin, not that far away. And there's some good trade wind breezes, so no dramas yet, which is kind of nice, because sometimes this passage, when you look at the weather, sometimes it can be a bit more daunting. But they're all just discussing the challenges of the sea state. It's really uncomfortable, and it's a different ocean. That's part of it, I suppose. But even looking at it, you think, well, if it's normal trade winds, you think you have normal sea state, but the seas are coming and being generated partially from a long way south, so it is a different ocean. Never sailed this leg, but kind of interesting. Okay, so I think I can make this a bit bigger, get rid of that, and I'll just pick it up a bit so we can see relative positions. Josh down the back here, doing 4.8 knots and 119 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. Josh, by the way, isn't strongly represented in the video clips coming together that Jane put together again, because he doesn't have Starlink. So the only time he can give us vision is when he's in the ports, and he dumps a fair bit of stuff. So we'll keep putting that up later on. Urton back here, 5 knots, doing 108 miles a day. That could be one of the slots of the thing. Josh is down 119, so come on, Urton. 108-mile days, having fun. Jasmine, 110-mile day, and doing 5 knots. So Urton's got a bit more breeze. I think he's over that point where it'd just be a small head sail. And going at Jasmine's got a little bit less, so might have a little bit of mainsail and a head sail. Hard to say. Eric doing 5.3, 117-mile day, pulling away a little bit from Jasmine. 135 for Christian. I think Christian and Jacob are having a go at each other. They're a bit further away than I don't think. I'll just see. They might be in VHF. I'll just do a quick grab at that and just see if there's enough there. 32 miles. Yeah, they could be. They could be in VHF contact there. It's only 15 miles each, and they're on the top of the mast. 30 miles. Yeah, they could be. Be scratchy and weak signal, but they might be chatting. Anyway, as I said, Christian 135-mile day and 6 knots. Jacob 5.6 and doing 131. So Christian's caught up a little bit. Adam up here doing 5.4, 127-mile day. And then we do the big 2-day jump that isn't shown on the tracker, and we come to Peeler. 5.4 knots, 134. So that's pretty substantial. 134, not like 145 day the other 145 mile day the other day, but still looking okay. Kerry doing 5.8 knots and 136 mile day. Dan 6.4. I should say unlucky Dan, and it made me laugh. 141 mile day. Well, that's pretty good. Might be the fastest. I laughed with respect because he put it up as a joke, and it was kind of funny. Poor bugger. Bloody hell. Anyway, if you saw the post about that. And Renault, 5.9, 143. 143. Dan is 141. So it looks like Renault's got it again. He's noticed something different here again. It just hit me again today. What's different in this picture? If you're on a computer screen, you'll see it, but on a phone, you may not see it. What's substantially different in this picture? There are 2 straight lines on the map, okay, or reasonably straight. One is the red run line here, dead straight, and 2 is Renault's course, basically dead straight. Pretty much everyone else, within reason, is wandering around, moving around, this, that, and the other. Blah, blah, blah. This is exactly what Jean-Luc did in the 2018 GGR. It's exactly what Simon Kerwin did in the 2022 GGR, and both of them were substantially in front of everyone else. And it's now, there's a lot to be said for that. Keep trimming the boat, keep sailing, straight line sailing, don't wander around too much, because if you took any of these, like if you took Kerry's course and you straightened that out as a bit of string, you'd probably find Kerry would be another 30 miles in front, 30 miles further forward. So there's no question. And you don't get a straight line without trying, and you don't get a straight line without actually trimming sails all the time and keep the boat pointing in the right direction, rather than sort of moving around with waves and this, that, and the other. I mean, Dan is trying hard to be a straight line because he's been under instruction from Renault. Well, not instruction, but certainly Renault and Dan talk a lot about the performance of the boats. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's my imagination, but I just look here. I mean, he has a brewer. Once he's on track, that's it. Bang. From that point on, dead straight. No wandering around. So kind of interesting. Anyway, just an observation. Might not be correct. These are all my opinions, and I take no responsibility for them, so don't follow them. Okay. So let's look at the weather for the next couple of days, wind-wise. We'll just push this through. Boom, boom. That was pretty quick. Plenty of strength in that lot. There's plenty of breeze there. 25, 28, stuff like that. As soon as you see the yellow, you're into 28s. So there's 1 day, 2 days, plenty of breeze coming through for the back fleet, up to Adam there. There's dark yellow there, so that's going to be interesting. The seas will probably be up around 4 meters. It's dying off a little bit in the front over the next 2 days. So it's the 3 leaders, maybe the 4 leaders, will be stretching out ahead of that big puff. The rest of the fleet is going to get some boisterous wind and probably sea. So let's see about the sea, and there it is. Yep, It's a dark red purple there, so that's 3 to 4 meters. Following up behind, um, maybe, yeah. There's still 3.5 meters here, so they've all got a big C. And as I mentioned before, it's not just the trade winds that is generating those Cs. They're actually, wow, look at that. Now, again, you might not see that. There's this C state here coming down from the northeast, right? Then there's a dividing line that goes right through where Erton is at the moment, and then there's the sea coming from the southwest. I'll just blow that up, and you might be able to see it in the graphic here. Can you see that? Yep, you can see a line that goes down. If you're following my cursor, there's the line there. Two distinct sea states, one coming this way now from the northeast, and then immediately, Erton's just on it now, it's coming from the southwest. So if Erton's watching this, you'll probably notice if this graphic is correct, he might already be in it, but there's going to be some confused seas there. And you've got this darker zone, which is bigger seas. So, it's still pretty boisterous there. So they're earning their stopover when they finally get there. So I'll just go back to what I was going to show you, how it comes up. There's some big stuff down here in the Southern Ocean. This seems like a long way away, and it certainly is, but swells go a long distance. I mean, there's the edge there. That's 1,000 miles away, right? So, but they just wander up there. Okay, so that's the sea state. Let's go for currents. We'll check that, and I'll blow it up a bit to get here. It's all just generally favourable currents. I don't think anyone's there's not so much winners and losers there, but generally it's averaging out that it's favourable. They might be getting a bit better current there in the back of the fleet. That's 3 days away. There it is now. So nothing to worry about. The wind and the currents going in similar directions, so that's okay. In terms of distance to the finish and ETAs and so on for this section, we use Renault as the benchmark. He's closed quite well in the last 24 hours. 570 odd miles, 570 miles, and they're still clocking out 130 mile days. That's 140. Jeepers, that's 300 miles in 2 days. 300 miles in 2 days. So that's only like 4 days. It's now Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It'll be Friday morning still, I reckon, because it's going to go a little bit lighter sometime on Friday. So that's hanging through the same. And then the others, you've got like 120 miles behind. So Adam, 120 mile days. So there's near enough to 3.5, 4 days. So if Renault's getting in on Friday, that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So Adam and the others will be in during the following week. Okay, and then they've got a 6-day stopover there. I'm going to juggle a few things because I'm sort of I've got to make the decision by tomorrow exactly what I'm going to do with bunching the fleet. And at the moment, I'm inclined to bunch the fleet from Port Louis in Mauritius. So that when they take off, they're all looking something similar. We may even schedule a group start there. We'll just see how it goes. And so for now, everyone's still heading for Rodriguez, and we'll track it from there. Okay, I don't think there's a lot more I can give you there. Everyone seems pretty happy, so I'll come back here and say g'day, talk about a few things. Before I get there, I will... oh, Jesus, shit, I've lost it. I had a picture here I was going to show you, but anyway. A 33-foot scow adventure boat, like a 650 Transat boat, but a 33-footer for adventure. It's a pretty radical boat. It's cool. Okay, entrant reports. The last one we did was the last one we did yesterday was Little Wren, I'm pretty sure. Reef 2-3, not sure. Yep, that's it. So we've got only one report today from Immortal Gain. You've already seen the flying fish picture and the disasters he had on board, which complemented the wave down below and everything getting wet. But anyway, so this is from Nikki. The last few days have been wet, rainy, and overcast. So charging batteries has been a challenge. And the sea state has made for difficult living conditions on board. You can read between the lines based on the other one. They took a wave down below just as he opened the hatch. I had the opposite of that in the Transat. The only time I got a little bit of water below, but not a lot. was I just had it. I didn't get to close it in time. Long story. Anyway, all is well though, making decent progress towards Rodriguez. But we're getting a good play on Dan's situation. He's good on the social media. He's got a great following. It's over 5,000 people or something on his social media. So he's keeping them all happy. I had a question. Someone was asking about where's Renault cooking cakes, and I responded appropriately and said, well, Renault doesn't give us anything except for his mandatory report in French, even though he couldn't do English. I think it might be a protest. I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we'll receive something from Renault, some videos. He's got Starlink and so on, but he is sailing hard. But it'd be good to see what he's up to. Okay, so before I get into the questions, I'll just come back to this one. Oh, what's going on? Boom. Okay, this was in the comments section when we're talking about the replicas. This is another one in New Zealand. I'd heard about one, and that guy's we're talking to him, but this is another one. This was built in '59. It looks in pretty good nick, and is in New Zealand. Look very smooth indeed. They're launching it off their trailer, so that's cool. And then of course this one is the auction's closing out Australia time. It's closing out at 7:30 today, 7:30 p.m. I think it is. And the plan was that Gary, I mentioned this yesterday, is going to go and have a look at it for John and so on. It needs a tidy up, but the structures seem to me to be very good. So maybe he'll buy it. Maybe someone else will buy it. So what happens if they want to do the MGR? First of all, they've got to have a catch rig. This one here. It's a shorter mast than a sloop rig, I would imagine. I've never seen a plan for the sloop or cutter rig system. Maybe it's the same height mast because the mizzen doesn't do a lot except for balance, but it's good for downwind and so on, or breaching, because you've got the mizzen and you've got a mizzen staysail there, so you can crank it on when you're reaching. But you've got to have this rig, and that creates some complications for your wind vane system, but it's not impossible. You just basically what you do if you're pushing the wind vane and going downhill, you don't need the mizzen up anyway. Okay, so you can drop the mizzen, pull the boom up, or lower it down, do whatever, and then your wind vane, bring it online, and away you go. So sails, you do your own sails, right? You don't have to have quantum sails because quantum won't be making TREKKA sails, but we will be insisting on maintaining the luff, foot, and luff and foot dimensions as per the rig. So as per the standard rig, and we probably wouldn't allow a full roach mainsail either. It'd have to be a mainsail that clears the two backstays, and then it'd be quite an interesting race to see how it's going. And I think the late John Guswell was obviously a very good sailor. He had great times if you read the book, going all over the place, but he wouldn't have been racing. Someone gets hold of this and they're going to go into the MGR, they'd want to embarrass all the other 580s. So they could do what they want with the sails. We'd probably restrict the number of sails. We'd give them 2 more sails over the sloop because you've got a mizzen for one, and then you'd have a mizzen staysail as well. And so where they've got 7 sails on a 580, we'd allow a TREKKA to have 7, 8, 9 sails maximum. Okay. They have to have all of the usual safety gear as per the notice of race. So they've got to carry everything on board. And we do allow, because the one that John's looking at now has an outboard rudder. I wouldn't expect them to now go and modify the structure to put a skeg on. So if the boat is currently fitted with an outboard rudder, we would allow it. As of today's date, anyone with a TREKKA replica, if it's got an inboard rudder like this, we wouldn't allow that to be removed and fitted with an outboard rudder, right? If that makes sense. And we would still require this anchor compartment up the front. Doesn't have to be that far back, but we'd still want a crash bulkhead in there, right? And we'll have to look at, I think we'd only go to crash bulkhead. I wouldn't ask anyone to start putting watertight bulkheads in, but you'd certainly need a survey on the boat. So in other words, this one back here, which is built in '59, is a really cool looking boat, and it looks like, the beauty of timber is you can keep it brand new. If you look after it, keep all the preservatives on it, like paint and all the rest of it, they'll last forever if they're well maintained. If you leave them sitting in a paddock for 5-6 years, you can be in trouble. But what we do there is we haven't required on any of the 580s yet a survey per se, because they're all new boats basically. But with a trekker, we'd require a full structural survey, and the surveyor would have to sign it off. So it's good for ocean work. And the same with the rigs. We would require a rigger, which is no big deal, to do a survey of the rig and sign it off. Because anyone doing the MGR would put all new standing rigging on the rig anyway, so and it'd be easy to take it down. So we would require a rig survey, hull survey, all the safety gear, all the same training for the skipper, and they're in the MGR. We did offer a substantial discount. I think it was just about free for this edition of the MGR, but we didn't have any takers with a replica. And I think now it's a 50% discount on the entry fees and so on for a replica, because we'd be keen to see one in there anyway. And it'd be fun to see them sailing side by side, and it'd be really good for the storyline. And TREKKA is an amazing story with the late John Guswell, and we're sailing in the footsteps of TREKKA, all that sort of stuff, and that would really highlight that. So maybe this is starting something. Maybe it's another way. It could be a little less expensive to get in, but it's certainly a lot of fun, and the boat's capable. The design is capable. So I'm not expecting people to go out and build brand new replicas now, but you could if you wanted to. And there's one boat, jeepers, if I see it come up again, I think it'd be impossible for you not to buy it. I'm kicking myself. I didn't buy it. I've mentioned a few times. There's one trekker in England which is a glamour. It's like a piece of furniture. It's built exactly to plan. It's just stunning. And it was for sale a couple of years ago for about 15,000 Australian dollars. It was in a shed. I'm kicking myself I didn't buy it. It's like a museum piece. Graham, if you're watching this, I don't think you saw it, but if you did, you'd die. It's just unbelievable, stunning. So someone's got a glamour trekker in the UK. Anyway, okay, I digress, but it is Sunday, so there you go. So g'day, Craig. Good to see you, LC. That last one was a misprint. Sorry, I'm watching from Darwin. That's okay. I don't care where you watch from, as long as we've got some people, which is good. We're actually running about four or 500 on YouTube, if there's a good one, and about 700, 800 people. So, we have something like over 1,000 people anyway watching the tracker updates, which is fine. All good. Jane's happy. She gets $2 an episode. We make about €2 every one we do. I think, or maybe it's 2 Australian dollars. I don't know. Okay. Boat Builder John, thanks for the update. My pleasure. It's good to see where they are and what they're doing. How are they all doing for food and water supplies? No one complains. You very rarely nowadays hear them talk about food problems. I think they've got into the routine. Certainly no one's short of food. They all know their average speeds and all that sort of stuff, so they've got plenty on board. I think things will be expensive in Rodriguez, but it's only 3 days. Less than that. It's only 300 and something miles to Mauritius, and that's a big place. It's part of the real world again. Restaurants, normal food, supermarkets, all that sort of stuff. So they'll be back into it, and they've been probably living in an average way since Fiji, because they had their food on board. They didn't get a lot out of Thursday Island, but there was stuff there. They didn't get a lot out of Cocos, but there was stuff there. So I think they'll enjoy the next round of bits and pieces. Water, no one's talking about water problems. They have to leave wherever they leave from with 100 litres minimum. That's on their port departure form. They declare how much water they got on board and stuff. So no one's really talking problems with water either. Okay, Sean, what is the LOA of the original trekker? I think it's 21 feet 9 inches or something. I forget. I haven't got it exactly in front of me. So some people will call it a 22-footer, but it's actually, if Graham was watching this, he'd tell me straight away, Graham Cox. But I think it's 21 feet 9 or 10 inches of stuff. It's a little bit longer, but it's a little bit longer, but the boat's a little bit smaller in a psychological way, and that the beam on a 580 is much greater. It's nearly a foot beamier. And the way the cabin, it's like a raised deck sort of thing, because you see the cabin sides are angled, and then you've got a flush deck with an obs pod. So that whole area in the middle is far more usable than the original trekker. If you look at, I'll just put you back there. If you look at this, I think the beam is nearly a foot shorter, and so you've got a couple of bunks up here, whereas there's a forecastle on the 580. So in volume, usable volume, because you're not going to do much under the cockpit, although the one for sale in Sydney has a quarter berth in there. The usable volume probably feels a bit more on the 580. The displacement of the boat, the original Trekker, is heavier by a few hundred kilos, so because it's got a much bigger keel, a big lump of ballast right at the bottom there bolted on. The attachment point for the keel is really interesting. I haven't got those pictures here, but it's, if you imagine they have two pieces of anchor line right next to each other bolted to the bottom of the hull, and then the steel plate goes up in between those two bits of anchor line, the faces coming down, and they just put a whole series of bolts there. It's very simple construction, so but strong and reliable. There's no, it's just pretty good. So yeah, it is technically a longer boat, but it's a different type of boat. So would you allow any Trekker replicas to have A sails and bowsprits? No, we would. They can have A sails for sure, but there's no bowsprits because the boat wasn't designed for it. Let me just have a look again. No one's ever asked that question before. No, we would probably, because it's sailing as a normal one, spinnaker poles would have to be the J measurement, so it would come out a little bit further than the. Hang on, I've got to go back one more for the replay. You have a spinnaker pole on here to the jail measurement. You could run it from there. I'd have to think about that because certainly none of the replicas at the moment would have any asymmetric spinnakers. I think at the best they'd have a running spinnaker. They might have one cruising chute or something. We wouldn't want to make the replica disadvantaged. So it's a very good question. I'd have to have a look at that. If we do get an entry, we'll have a look, and we might allow them to do a longer spinnaker pole that they could fit down low and stick out the front or something. But Trekker didn't have a bowsprit, but we'd do something to try and make sure they're not slow, if that makes sense. So I'll reserve my final decision on that until we get an entry. Okay. So, McGill, I doubt any serious cooking is done in those difficult sea conditions. I tend to agree. So I'm throwing those comments with a pinch of salt. I fully understand that Renault is just concentrated on sailing, checking the weather every 4 hours, I think it is, maintaining that course, holding onto his lead. And I got a sneaky suspicion he's pacing himself, right? He's just sitting out there in the front to really piss off everyone at the back. Because everyone at the back is probably going flat out, doing everything they possibly can. Yeah. And Renault's probably just tuk. And if someone puts the pressure on, then I think you might see Renault just. And in fact, it's probably already happening. He's probably put his sights on. Let's stay 50, 60 miles in front. That means it's quite a lot when you only might gain by 1 knot. If you're all of a sudden you start going 1 knot faster, right? It's going to take you 2 days to catch up, even if you're doing 1 knot faster average all the time. There's 24 hours a day, so it's 2 days. So he can see if anyone's coming, and then he'd probably put a bit more pressure on the boat himself. I may be wrong. Renault may be going flat to trap and pulling his hair out, but whilst he's prepared to share everything about sailing the boats to other entrants and be a really cool guy, there's some things that he'll probably keep to himself. I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe he's running out of energy right now. But it'd still be good to see some videos, like it's not just me, it's other people. And we do this, people like seeing it, it's inspirational. So hopefully you'll get a chance to do some videos and get it out there. Sean Collins, is the Trekker design the Ferry Marine cold molded hull? The Ferry Marine? No. I'm not sure about that. You might be confusing that with, if I remember rightly, I'm not big on this. I tend to know a little bit about a lot of boats, but not a lot about anything. They're all one-off. There was no one, to my mind, that was making a production version. And if Graham's watching this, he might correct me. But there are quite a few boats of this ilk that were built from the original designs. You can just, if you just Google now, if you go for Google Images, and put, John Guswell's Trekker, Google Images, you'll see the plans pop up. There's links, you'll see pictures there, and or just put Google the design, you'll see it's $927 US, I think it is, or whatever it's for a set of plans. Makes the 580 plans look cheap. So anyway, but yeah, you can still buy plans if you wanted to build one, and they've been done in different formats, cold molded. Like I'd probably assume it's 3 planks of cold molding, boom, boom, boom. and some of them have been done strip planked, like the original. And and I met a guy in one. I didn't realise the significance at the time. I sort of did, but I met a guy in 1981 in Mooloolaba. I was called a grotty yachty back then, and my name was Jungle. It's a long story. We were all living on the Kawana Waters Marina, and he was there with his little trekker replica, a cream-coloured one. And we had dinner with him one night down below. It's a cool little boat, And I knew it was Trekker, and Trekker was a bit of an inspiration. I knew the story, but that was a cold moulded boat as well. So yeah, it was quite cool. Young guy. I was a young guy back then too. Anyway, all part of the deal. Like being lazy, yeah, you're like me. But it's amazing. I often, when I'm doing a search for something, you can do the normal Google search, but I often just go for images. Right? Go images on Google, and then just type in the search for the images, and you get a whole new avenue to get into all the actual information of what's going on. It's quite an interesting way to usurp it, but AI is taking over a lot of stuff now too. Okay, that's it. I think we've done everything, so thanks for all that. We will see you tomorrow if everything goes well. So have a good weekend if you're just doing the last day, or if you're finishing off on Sunday night. I'm not sure. No, it can't be because we're... Oh, no, it could be. Anyway, okay, we will see you later. Thanks. Oh, remember to like and share and all that stuff.